will never be forgotten.
2 years after an inquiry cited a genocide for Indigenous women and girls, a long list of partners presented a national action plan.
We shine a spotlight on the immediate actions that need to be taken. We need accountability, inclusion, interconnectedness, and concrete actions.
The short-term goals are wide-ranging and include a guaranteed annual livable income, a nationwide emergency number, and a 24-hour in-person support system, and a national task force to review and reinvestigate unresolved files. But there's no costing nor time frame for any of that. Then, confusingly, there's Ottawa's portion, a 30-page federal pathway promising more investments in language, culture, safety, and justice. Many commitments are vague, none are costed. The minister in charge refused to be clear about whether Ottawa will implement those big-ticket National Action Plan items.
I think what we are saying is that we support them, and now as we move to implementation, we obviously will be able to evergreen the pathway.
This is our big concern and the confusion around, I think, this plan today. People may be under the impression that these initiatives that are being brought forth by the groups are actually going to be put in place and funded.
It falls short from what I expected.
The document is a disappointment for John Fox Sr. His daughter Cheyenne fell to her death from a 24th-story balcony in Toronto in 2013. He believes she was murdered.
That's what's been happening with these issues with missing and murdered women, girls, and they're just kind of being left on the back burner.
Indigenous women and girls and 2S people are dying, and the work has to be done promptly. So, personally, yes, I am disappointed that it's taken this long.
Other stakeholders say they were left out of the whole process, while the Native Women's Association of Canada walked away from it earlier this week, citing concerns with the federal government's lack of concrete action. Now it says it will launch a human rights complaint and call on the United Nations to investigate. Abigail Bimman, Global News, Ottawa.
The last residential school closed in the late 1990s. The trauma, though, has not ended. The ripple effects have been pervasive across generations. Neetu Garcha is looking into that tonight.
But it hit hard.
A week after it was announced, the Kamloops Residential School discovery packs a painful punch.
Sorry, it's just, we're all saying that as each day goes by, it's actually getting harder. So, sorry.
The executive director of Kikikyak, a place of belonging, says the child welfare system is failing Indigenous children, and this one-of-a-kind youth and elder housing facility is a solution because it promotes healing rather than perpetuating trauma that runs generations deep.
The rates of homelessness, chronic addictions, mental health, incarceration, death it's alarming. It's just unacceptable.
She says the government-owned 31-unit center, which opened less than a year ago, doesn't have an age-out-of-care philosophy and ensures those living here are represented and remember their cultural lineage.
First Nations people know what they need. They need to lead and develop their services.
The children and grandchildren are at greater risk for psychological distress, so symptoms of anxiety and depression, compared to those Indigenous families who were not affected by the residential school system.
Researchers at Dalhousie University have found there are biological impacts to a person's stress response system from trauma, which many of those living with it want to be trusted with tackling.
We have the solutions, but the thing is we didn't create this, and it can't just be left to us to fix it all. And, if there's a gift out of this, it's those 215 little children. Their lives have created this awakening.
Neetu Garcha, Global News, Kamloops, BC.